Hello and welcome back. This week we're going to talk about a contentious little issue of natural essential oils versus synthetic. Let's begin. Now, the first thing I wanted to explain is that synthetics try to mimic nature. They are in no way natural. They are inert. And so for that reason, they are of no use to me, because I prefer the more energetic nature of essential oils. Now, the thing about synthetic oils, they actually evolved around the perfume and the cosmetic industry. And to be very cynical about it, it's all around price and cost and consistency. Natural materials tend to be a bit more volatile. When they're created in a lab setting, they become more stable and they're actually more affordable. Now, these labs can produce synthetics all year round, whereas if you consider naturals, they are subjected to some very important things such as climate, soil, harvest, and an ecosystem that is very volatile. For me, naturals present a very, very dynamic and resonant way of working, one that connects me to the natural world, whereas synthetics, to me, take me away from the natural world. It takes me into a world that's imagining what the natural world is. In truth, synthetics had no connection to essential oils of aromatherapy and natural perfumery, other than they tried to replicate nature. They were commercial. They found it hard to capture the mercurial nature of essential oils, which they found very hard to replicate. Where these two worlds start to rub up against each other is all down to chemistry. Now, there's an association called IFRA, the International Fragrance Association, which is kind of like a watchdog, mainly for the perfumery industry, but somehow they have now come into the natural area as well. Now, they have deemed that certain essential oils have compounds that are sensitizing, and as a result have prohibited certain oils. The first oil that really came under its scrutiny is rose oil. And so now, when you are using rose oil, you can only use it at 0.01%. Which is minute. Rose, which is an oil that has been used for centuries safely, is now restricted. So as natural perfumers and aromatherapists, we've had to work around this and find ways of supporting rose with other materials. Now, the second group that's come under certain scrutiny are the citrus family. These are oils like orange, lemon, but specifically bergamot, which they've now said that it causes photosensitization. They now produce a bergamot that's bergaptin free, which is safe to use in skincare. But, this continues. Now under scrutiny are jasmine and ylang-ylang, both materials that are used a lot in natural perfumery and in aromatherapy. So where does that actually stop? It seems to me that more and more of these vital materials are being prohibited in terms of how much of it we can use, all under the guise of safety. Now, as a natural perfumer, that becomes quite an issue, but I'm not daunted by it, because for me, I will look to see how I can utilize my skills to actually enhance the way I work. As an aromatherapist, we only use these oils in very, very tiny quantities when we're working therapeutically, and those are diluted. So really it's down to the skill of the practitioner that determines whether these are going to be allergenic or whether they're going to be safe. Most aromatherapists have a really good understanding of how the chemistry works in essential oils and the allergens. Same too of natural perfumers. We are all really, really mindful about how we work with our materials. The other big issue is the fact that some of these big perfume houses work with both natural essential oils as well as synthetics, and they have the financial capacity to reserve harvests in advance. What this does is it really creates scarcity. Now, for the natural perfumer or aromatherapist, this is a real problem. We also have on top of that, global volatility. There are wars breaking out all over the world, and also global warming. These factors are really affecting supply routes. It creates scarcity, and it also drives the prices of the oils up and up and up. It's really important to understand that a lot of these synthetics are actually created through petrochemical processes and are therefore quite hazardous for the environment. Another aspect that comes to light here due to scarcity is the adulteration of essential oils. So the first way is through extension, mixing a vegetable oil to extend the essential oil. The way you can detect this is it'll have a greasy residue. Most essential oils are actually more like spirits. Something else that gets done is the product is bulked out either with a synthetic or with a botanical surrogate. Then you have reconstruction and fractionation. This is where they lift a botanical fingerprint and try to replicate it as natural. So you can see there are a lot of different ways oils can actually be adulterated. Another really important sign of this is that if you are buying a rare or essential oil such as neroli or rose or jasmine and it's really cheap, that will be a real indicator that that oil is not a true jasmine or neroli, but maybe it has some nature identicals within it. Now, it's really, really important when you go to your supplier to have a look at the technical data sheets. On most online, good, reputable online stores, they will supply technical data sheets. And what these consist of is gas chromatography and mass spectrometry. And what this does is it does a readout of all the chemical constituents created that are contained with the essential oils. And therefore, if they are coherent, then they will be deemed as 100% natural. You can't claim that they are 100% natural if this isn't coherent. So what this asks you is, in a time where there are so many household products being called natural or having pure essential oils in them, are they actually pure essential oils, or are they these kind of combination of oils being passed off as pure essential oils? It's quite worrying that this is occurring within our world at the moment, because the demands for naturals are very big. Something I find really interesting is the way that essential oils are being policed is quite rigorous. I personally wonder sometimes whether synthetics are being policed in exactly the same way. Certainly there is scientific research that's now emerging that actually shows them up in a very detrimental way. For example, daily fragrancing with perfume. They're now finding, as this seeps into the the skin barrier and into the circulation, it's actually having a disruptive effect on the systems of the body even before it's metabolized. Then you have fixatives that are not biodegradable. These are now being found in urine and also in breast milk. And the cumulative effect of this is now being seen to have effects as hormonal disruptors and on allergies. Secondly, you have the instance of synthetics being diffused into the air. Now, they've found some of these are actually respiratory irritants, and they found a direct correlation between this and the increase of chronic asthma. And laboratory tissue studies have actually indicated that certain musks are actually being bioaccumulated in the fatty tissue. And this in itself is having a neurotoxic effect on the body. Now, the other thing that I find really disturbing is you have many shops that are doing kind of knockoff perfumes, white label perfumes. Now, these go completely unregulated. They're using synthetics and semi-synthetics, and are very cheap and easy to buy. And for someone who cannot afford perfumes that cost £165, these are being used very readily. What are the detrimental effects? You can only imagine what's going on in people's body as they absorb these oils. To the untrained eye, a lot of these practices seem harmless, but they are actually having a detrimental effect on our bodies in terms of sensitivities and allergies. Now, you don't get the same thing when you're working with naturals. For me, I hope in this video I've managed to show you the difference between synthetics and naturals. And actually, they don't really come together unless you're a perfumer who wants to use both. I use natural oils because I want to use the life force that occurs within them and the natural synergy they have with our own bodies. So for me, the energetics of essential oils are very important. And so when I am buying or purchasing my oils, I make sure that my suppliers provide me with all the technical data so that I know that my essential oils are pure and are coming from small growers that are Soil Association certified. It's very important for me because I'm not only using them therapeutically, but I'm also using them energetically. And as you know, my philosophy is all about us not being separate from nature. And I think synthetics actually separate you from nature. If you've enjoyed this content, please subscribe, like and share, and leave a comment if there's anything that you found interesting. And see you next week. Bye for now.